Chapter number 16. Our past. What is history? We often look at our photo albums to know about the past events of our families. Similarly, when we want to know about the past events of our society or country, we flip through the pages of history. Thus, history is the study of the past, and the people who study the past are called historians. History provides us information about our rich past, how people lived, what they ate, what they wore, what types of houses they built, and many other things. It also tells us about the changes that took place since humans first appeared on the earth till date. Therefore, history is the window into the past and is the key to understand the present. Division of the past. The past has been divided into prehistory and history. Prehistory. Writing was not invented. History. Writing was invented. Written records were not available. Written records were available. Example, Stone Age. Example, Mauryan Empire. How do we know about the past? There are several ways to learn about the past. One can search and read books that were written long ago. These are called manuscripts. These were written on bhojpatras, the dried barks of birch trees, and on palm leaves. One can also study inscriptions. These were written on stones or metals. We can also learn from the remains of the past, such as monuments, tools, fossils, pottery, coins, weapons, and other artifacts. These are studied by people called archaeologists. Their study is an account of what might have happened in the past on the basis of these artifacts. Sources of history. We learn about the past from manuscripts, inscriptions, coins, and other material left behind by people of that period. These are called the sources of history. By studying them, historians and archaeologists tell us about the past. Sources are divided into two broad groups, that is, archaeological sources and literary sources. Sources of history: archaeological, coins, inscriptions, monuments, artifacts. Literary, religious, secular. Archaeological sources. Archaeological sources are direct evidences as they are physical evidences. They have a significant effect on the writing of history. They cannot be changed or altered by human beings. Coins. They give information about the reign of the king and the extent of his empire, that is, the areas ruled by the kings. Sometimes they carry the date of accession or death of a ruler. They carry names and images of the rulers. Coins also tell us about the trade activities, art, and religion that flourished during a particular age. The metals used to make coins tell us about the level of scientific advancements of that age. Inscriptions. The rulers engraved royal orders on rocks, pillars, copper plates, and clay tablets. These are called inscriptions. The Ashokan Edicts are one of the most important inscriptions of India. They are written on stone pillars and rocks. They help in writing the history of the Mauryan period. Monuments, temples, mosques, palaces, forts, and other structures that were built for some special purposes are called monuments. They give information about the artistic skills and the occasions on which they were built. For instance, the ruins of Nalanda University in Bihar reveal the ancient system of education. Artifacts. Toys, jewelry, weapons, tools, pottery, and sculptures made and used by humans in the past are called artifacts. By studying them, historians tell us about the lifestyle of early humans, the arts they had mastered, their social and economic conditions, and their trade relations in different parts of the world. Literary sources. Literary sources refer to the written records of the past. The oldest literary sources are handwritten documents called manuscripts. Before the invention of paper, people wrote on dried barks or leaves, rocks and stones. Literary sources are divided into two parts, religious and secular. Literary sources: religious literature, secular literature, historical accounts, biographies, travelers' accounts. Religious literature: literature that deals with religion is called religious literature. For example, the Vedas, the Tripitakas, the Angas, the Quran, the Bible, and many more. Secular literature: the literature that does not deal with religion is called secular literature. Secular literature includes historical accounts and biographies. Mudra Rakshas, a play written by Vishakadatta, tells us how Chandragupta, with the help of Chanakya, overthrew the unpopular Nandas. This helps us conclude that people revolted against unpopular kings and even replaced them successfully with better rulers. Arthashastra, written by Kautilya, gives detailed information about the modern administration and society. Travelers' accounts are also included in secular literature. A number of foreign travelers who visited India from time to time have left written accounts of their travel, which act as important sources of information in understanding the past of the country. Megasthenes lived in India as the Greek ambassador in the court of Chandragupta Maurya. He wrote Indica. From these sources, we come to know about the life of the people in the past. Family tree. A family tree consists of information of important events right from the birth of a person to death. This was a tradition that developed in the past. A family tree writer used to capture the important events through writings and store them in the form of ledgers. This provided valuable information about families that ruled kingdoms and the different religious beliefs they followed. No more. Some communities such as Rao, Bhatt, Barut, Jaga, Purohit, Rani Manga, Helwa and Panjikar record every detail about their patrons, who were called Yajmans in their ledgers. The life of early humans. The life of early humans was very difficult. They did not know how to produce food grains and build houses. They were always under the threat of wild animals. They defended themselves by hiding in caves or climbing on trees. Sometimes later, they began killing animals by weapons and tools made of stones. Since stones were easily available, these were found in a large number of caves and places where early humans lived. We know a lot about early humans through these stone tools and weapons. This phase of early humans is known as the Stone Age. The Stone Age is divided into 3 sub-periods on the basis of the development of different stone tools. Paleolithic Age or Old Stone Age, Mesolithic Age or Middle Stone Age, Neolithic Age or New Stone Age. Making of stone tools. Initially, early humans searched for stones which could be used as tools. But later on, they started making tools on their own. Flint was largely used to make tools as it could easily be chipped to get the desired shape. The main tool of this period was a hand axe. It was used to cut or chop animals and trees. Therefore, it is also known as a chopper. The stone tools were used for cutting trees, killing and skinning animals, and also for chopping meat. Techniques of making stone tools. Probably 2 different techniques were used to make stone tools. Stone on stone. The stone out of which a tool was to be made, called core, was held in one hand. The second stone, which was used as a hammer, was held in the other hand. The hammer stone was used to strike off flakes from the core stone till the required shape was obtained. Pressure flaking. The core was placed on a firm surface. It was stuck using the hammer stone to remove flakes in order to shape the core into a tool. Over a period of time, humans learned to cut wood with the help of stone tools. They then learned to make wooden handles for their tools and use them properly. Tools now became more advanced than earlier tools. They sparkled due to polishing. Hard handles were fixed on them. Bones were used to make needles and blades. Some of the tools of this period are axes, sickles, spears, and arrowheads. Discovery of fire. During the Paleolithic age, early humans learned how to light fire. Perhaps two stones were rubbed together, and accidentally the sparks fell on some dry leaves lying nearby that gave a clue about how to ignite fire. The discovery of fire helped them in many ways. Early humans used fire to scare away wild animals and keep themselves warm in winters. Later, they came to know that the flesh of animals tasted better when heated on fire, and thus they learned cooking. No more. You will be surprised to know that 99% of human history is covered by the Paleolithic period. It is subdivided into three parts on the basis of stone tools used and changes in the climate. These are Lower Paleolithic, Middle Paleolithic, Upper Paleolithic. During Lower Paleolithic period, many parts of the earth were covered heavily with ice, and the climate was extremely cold. Therefore, it is also called the Ice Age. During Upper Paleolithic age, the climate changed drastically from cold and became warm. Climate of the world changed around 12,000 years ago. Due to this change, grasslands developed and it increased the number of animals that survived on grass, for example, deer, sheep, cattle, antelopes, and goats. The permanent settlement of the early humans started with the following discoveries. Beginning of agriculture, domestication of animals, invention of the wheel, pottery, dress. Beginning of agriculture. Early humans learned the techniques of cultivation in the Neolithic age. Perhaps they learned this accidentally. They might have seen that when seeds fell on the ground and received water, they grew into plants. The first cereals to be cultivated were wheat and barley. Sickles of Neolithic farmers have been found everywhere in India. Agriculture was the greatest discovery. It changed their lifestyle completely. They could settle at one place and grow crops. They left their nomadic life and started leading a settled life. They made mud houses near the fields. Families came into existence that changed into tribes and villages over a period of time. In this way, the food gatherers and hunters became settled farmers. Domestication of animals. Early humans began domestication of animals. Animals proved to be helpful for humans in several ways. Dog was the first animal to be tamed. It was useful as a guard and companion. Later, sheep, goats, and cattle were also domesticated. They provided milk and meat. The wool and skin of animals were used for clothing in winter season. Invention of the wheel. The Neolithic period also saw the invention of the wheel. We have little knowledge about how the idea of a wheel occurred to the early humans. Perhaps a rolling log or stone gave them the idea. They could travel, move heavy loads quickly, and in an easier way than before because of the wheel. In fact, today our life revolves around the wheel. Pottery. The wheel also improved the art of pottery. It is during this period that the potter's wheel came into existence. Earthen pots were needed to store grains till the next cultivation season. They were also used to store milk, water, and cook food for daily use. Perhaps, at first, they wove large baskets from wild grass and stored the grains in them. Later, they plastered the baskets with clay and baked them to make them waterproof. Clay pots were also used for cooking food. Dress. The wheel was also used for spinning and weaving. Early humans began to use cotton and wool to make cloths besides using animal skin, leaves, and barks. Cotton cultivation started during this time. Now humans started satisfying their needs. They started worshipping nature. Thus, they progressed from prehistoric age to copper age. Sindhu Saraswati civilization. As humans began to settle down in permanent settlements, small villages grew up in many places. Most of these settlements developed in places where there was a continuous supply of water. Humans had started agriculture. Some people began to produce more than they consumed. The surplus produced was exchanged with other essential things, with people who could not produce enough for themselves. This was the beginning of the barter system. Gradually, more and more people began to settle in villages. The population grew and villages developed into towns and then cities. People became civilized and civilizations grew up. One such civilization developed in the plains of Sindhu and Saraswati. Excavations in 1922 at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro brought into light the existence of these civilizations. As excavations commenced, many more such places were discovered. Places of importance in Sindhu-Saraswati civilization. The Sindhu-Saraswati civilization is often referred to as Harappan civilization. This is so because the things found during excavations are very similar to those found in Harappa. Since this civilization grew on the banks of river Indus, it is also known as the Indus Valley civilization. The extent of this civilization was vast. It spread across Sindh, Balochistan, East and West Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat and northern Rajasthan. It is estimated that this civilization existed from 4500 BCE to 2500 BCE. No more. In the beginning, it was believed that the Harappan civilization was limited to a small area along river Indus. Further excavations suggested that it was spread over large part of present-day Pakistan and the Indian states of Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Gujarat and Rajasthan. A number of sites have been discovered in these places. Chanhodaro, Kot Diji and Amri, all in Pakistan. Ropar, Punjab. Banawali, Haryana. Alamgirpur, Uttar Pradesh. Kalibangan, Rajasthan. Lothal, Rojdi. Dholavira, Rangpur and Goladhoro, all in Gujarat. Special features of the civilization: town planning. The planned layout was the most impressive feature of all the Indus Valley cities. The cities were divided broadly into two parts, the citadel and the lower town. The structure built on a raised ground was called the citadel. It was surrounded by baked brick walls to protect it from floods. It was probably inhabited by the ruling class comprising priests and the rich merchants. Outside the citadel, at the lower height, was the lower town. It was larger than the citadel. Common people like craftsmen, laborers and merchants inhabited the lower town. The citadel, main buildings. In some cities, special buildings were constructed in the citadel area. The Great Granary. In the citadel of Harappa, the most remarkable building was the Great Granary. It was used to store surplus grains, probably to be used during famine or floods. The granaries here were arranged into 2 rows of 6 each. A circular working platform was used for threshing grains. A similar granary was found in Mohenjo-daro. All granaries were located close to the river bank. Rivers were the best means of transporting food grains on boats from one place to another. It was cheap, required less time and labor. The Great Bath. In Mohenjo-daro, a special tank called the Great Bath was discovered. This Great Bath was probably used for bathing on special occasions. It was lined with layers of baked bricks and was made watertight. Water was probably brought in from a well and drained out after use. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-daro resembles a large swimming pool with multiple entrances and dressing rooms around the central pool. The Assembly Hall or Town Hall. Another important structure found in the citadel area in Mohenjo-daro was the Assembly Hall or Town Hall. It was a large hall consisting of 20 pillars or baked bricks which were arranged into 4 rows of 5 each. It might have been used as a meeting place for a large gathering to discuss important issues or as a prayer hall. The plan of the lower town. The lower town was built with a very beautiful plan. The main roads were 8 to 10 meters wide and ran parallel to each other. The smaller roads crossed the main road at right angles and divided the city into rectangular boxes. This reminds one of the designs of modern towns. Most of the buildings in the lower town were residential quarters. The houses were 1 or 2 stories high and built of baked bricks. Most houses had a central courtyard, around which rooms were constructed. The windows opened into the courtyard where all household activities took place. The hearth was normally made in a sheltered corner of the courtyard. Every house had a bathing area along with a well. Terracotta drain pipes were used for draining water from the roof. The main entrance opened into lanes and not the main street to keep out dust. Drainage system. The drainage system of the Indus Valley civilization is regarded as the best example known to the ancient world. Drains were built on both sides of the road and were connected with each house. They were covered with baked bricks. Wooden traps were also fixed to check the passing of solid waste. Each house had its own soak system. It helped to collect all the sediments. It allowed only the water to flow into the drains. No more. Our present-day drainage system bears a striking resemblance with the Indus Valley civilization drainage system. We too have drains along the sides of the roads, main holes at regular intervals, sloping bathroom floors, and other similar features of the Indus drainage system. Dockyard. A bricked dockyard was found at Lothal. It was connected with a channel to the Gulf of Kambay, that is Khambat. The dockyard was probably used for making and repairing ships. This shows that the people were involved in foreign trade, perhaps with Mesopotamians. Ruins of Sindhu-Saraswati civilization. Artifacts found in the excavation of Sindhu-Saraswati civilization give us an idea about the lifestyle of the people living there at that time. The ruins depict a developed civilization. Decline of the civilization. The Indus Valley civilization lasted for around 1000 years. Its decline began around 1500 BCE. Research is still continuing to find the exact reasons of the weakening and ultimate collapse of this civilization. Some of the most discussed views are destruction caused by natural disasters such as floods, earthquakes, or changes in the path of river Indus might have led to an end of this civilization. Evidences of devastation caused by floods have been found at Mohenjo-daro and Lothal. Some scholars say that an attack by a more superior foreign tribe like the Aryans may have led to an end of the Indus settlement. Changes in climatic conditions or a sudden change in the course of the river Indus might have led to the reduction of agricultural production. Eventually, people might have migrated further east in search of more favorable living conditions. Changes were very clear and affected all the cities of the Harappan civilization. Although we do not know the actual reasons of the decline of the Sindhu-Saraswati civilization, we know it had a great impact on the people of the later periods. Contemporary civilizations. Other civilizations also developed on the banks of various rivers at other places in the world. Some of these civilizations are considered contemporary with Sindhu-Saraswati civilization by experts. These are the Nile River civilization of Egypt. This civilization flourished in northwest Egypt in Africa on both the banks of the river Nile. The Dajla-Farat civilization of Mesopotamia. It flourished in the Doab of present-day Iraq on the banks of Dajla and the Farat rivers. The Sumerians, the Babylonian and the Assyrian civilizations also developed in this region. The Huang Ho civilization of China. In the lower plains of the Huang Ho river, where fertile clay loam soil was found, this civilization developed. Places of archaeological importance in Rajasthan. Kalibangan. During the year 1961, excavation of 2 sand dunes in Kalibangan in Hanumangarh district provided remains of articles of prehistoric period. Articles found in excavation on the banks of river Ghaggar are similar to the Harappan civilization. Ahad. Ahad was situated on the banks of river Bidaj in Udaipur. It is also known as the Copper Town. Excavation was carried out on the eastern side hillocks of this habitation and remains of utensils of stone, copper and earthen pots were found. Gilund. Remains similar to those found in Ahad were found in excavations at Gilund. Both Ahad and Gilund are considered a part of Ahad civilization. Gilund is situated about 95 km north of Udaipur in Rajsamand. Bagor. Bagor is situated on the banks of Kothari river at Bagor in Bhilwara district. Stone Age and Copper Age articles were found here. Balathal. This is an extension of the Ahad civilization. It is situated 42 km in the east of Udaipur. Stone and Copper Age utensils, statues and other remains were found there. Noah. Artifacts made of copper and bones and iron axes were found here. They are said to be of the Copper Age. Chandravati. This was the capital of the Parmar dynasty. Ongoing excavations at Chandravati near Abu Road have provided knowledge about people's life, lifestyle and other activities during the medieval period. The ruins of fort and godowns have also been found. Pachamata. During the excavation in Pachamata, remains similar to Ahad have been found. Pachamata is 100 km from Udaipur. This is an important place in the Ahad Banas civilization. Embellished jars, bangles of oyster shells and green stones, earthen pots and big furnaces have been found here. Ganeshwar. Ganeshwar is on the banks of river Kantali in Sikar district. Articles of Copper Age have been excavated here. Bharat. This place is situated in Jaipur district. It has been a very developed place during various eras. It was the capital of Matsya region during Mahabharat period. Stone plaques of Samrat Ashoka's period have also been found here. Rajasthan has many Harappan and pre-Harappan period places like Karanpura, Bijnor and Tarkhanwala Dera. Almost 100